Hail Hydra! Hey guys, welcome to ComicsBoi, a channel where I take your favorite comic book universe and tell you your favorite character stories. Today we're looking at the infamous Steve Rogers Hail Hydra storyline. The arc opens up with Steve Rogers' dad abusing his mom in the streets. Then another woman pops up and hurts the man, saving the woman and Steve. Steve's dad then walks away and the woman, Sinclair, helps them up. She tells Sarah Rogers she's heard of her. She then goes to Steve and smiles, and she asks what his name is. Steve Rogers then crashes through the windows of a train. Sharon Carter tells Steve through the comms that the train is full of Hydra operatives, and they must be stopped now. Steve Rogers then wrestles off several of the Hydra operatives, and we see that the driver is the bomber. We then cut to the driver's past, where we learn that he was from a broken home. When he grew up, he tried to steal cars, but he was terrible and was often caught. He went to jail, came out, and he and his wife both suffered addiction problems. Until one day, he was called to a Hydra meeting. The Red Skull tells him about Hydra will prevail and bring glory to the people and the organization. Red Skull persuaded him, and then he realized he made a mistake. These people were evil, and giving up his life as a suicide bomber would be great. We then cut back to the present, where Steve Rogers has defeated everyone on the train and then talks about how we can make the staging site. But then Sharon tells him, "You lost the argument yesterday. You have backup." Jack Flag and Free Spirit enter the staging site where they begin to beat up the Hydra ops, and we then move to Steve. Rick Jones, who has been working this entire time on trying to detach the bomb from the train, finally completes his mission and tells Steve everyone is safe. But Steve says, no, not everyone, as he leaps into the cart with the bomb. Steve tries to convince him that it's fine, he doesn't need to die, but the bomber says no. He's going to a better place, and then the train explodes. We then see a moment where Sharon is tending to Steve's injuries that he picked up in the fight. Steve tells her that he used to be unable to recognize a 9-year-old in the mirror, but now he can't recognize a young guy. Sharon tells her that he's fine as long as his mind is in the right place, and he tells her how the new Hydra, it's changing people. There was nothing in the boy's eyes. When he pressed the button, Sharon kisses him and says they have to be ready soon. They have a meeting with Maria Hill. We then go back to the past where Sarah and Sinclair are talking about why Sinclair saved her. And she just says she understands marriage problems. She also tells Sarah that Steve is destined for greatness. We then see Rick Jones, Jack Flag, and Free Spirit have a conversation on Steve Rogers and their lives before we cut to Maria Hill, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Sharon Carter having a meeting where they discuss the suicide bomber's files and his past. They then have an argument over how terrible Maria is and how she may lose her job because of the Avengers standoff event. That will soon come to this channel. I don't know when, but soon. And then Steve walks in and says that the two of them, for some reason, always have to fight. And then Maria tells them that Sharon started. She actually has good news. She knows where Zemo is. We then see Zemo talk to 3 other supervillains about taking over Hydra before Steve, Jack Flag, and Free Spirit charge onto the scene. Zemo says it's way too early. We then see Jack Flag and Free Spirit handle the 3 villains while Steve jumps onto the plane with Zemo. We find out Zemo has Dr. Selvig in his custody, and Steve cuts open the top of the plane and charges in on Zemo, saying, "This ends now." Zemo opens the exit door right under Steve, and he falls, grabbing the plane, his life depending on it. Jack Flag sees it, knocks down a monster, and then goes to save Captain America. Zemo takes out his sword, and just as he's about to finish Steve Rogers, Jack Flag comes in from behind and finishes Zemo, knocking him out. He pulls Steve up, but then Steve says, "Damn it," and Jack asks if everything's okay. Steve says, actually, it isn't. He then says, sorry. We cut to the part where Sinclair hands Sarah Rogers a meeting form with the Hydra logo on it. And we go right back to the present, where Steve pushes Jack Flag. You see, like everyone else was converted to Hydra, Steve wanted it to do it too. Hail Hydra, said Steve Rogers. The next issue starts off with the Red Skull criticizing S.H.I.E.L.D. They had Kobik, the Cosmic Cube, the most powerful thing in the universe, and all they did is build a prison. They used it stupidly. He will use it properly. We cut to a flashback where Steve is fighting the Red Skull and the S.H.I.E.L.D. destroys the Cosmic Cube. This was a long time ago. This was when Steve wasn't Hydra. We then see S.H.I.E.L.D. working on the remains, but everyone dies, and Kobik, a small girl, is formed, the entity of the cube. Maria Hill takes Dr. Selvig to see this, and his face looks baffled. We then cut to the Red Skull around the same time as that, talking to his daughter about how frustrated he is. We then see Kobik pop up, and tells the Red Skull that she used to work for him. He used to care about her. The Guardians begin to open fire, but nothing they try is working. She then fixes the Red Skull's daughter's face. Red Skull begins to scream at her until she finds out she is the Cosmic Cube. Red Skull tells her they can be best friends, and an evil grin spreads across his face. Red Skull then reveals how he made Kobik fake being friends with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the good guys so he could find out more about them. Red Skull realizes that he doesn't have full power over her, but slowly he can earn it. Kobik tells Red Skull that she made Dr. Selvig Hydra because he was figuring out too much. She'll show him. She then teleports the Red Skull to Selvig, and then the Red Skull reads Selvig's mind. Because he can do that after he stole Professor X's powers. And the Red Skull smiles. He tells them to make Pleasant Hill, a place where S.H.I.E.L.D. could change everyone's past and make villains normal people. He made Zemo go undercover there, and then he let their mind control break. And they realized who they really were. Before they let loose on Captain America and Maria Hill, Zemo, Red Skull disguised as Dr. Patrick and staged everything from within. He told Steve where the cube was, and Steve went to get it. But he was met by Crossbones, who began to brutally beat up on old Steve Rogers. But Kobik intervened, turning Steve young again, but making him Hydra. Issue 3 opens off with Sarah Rogers at a Hydra meeting, and them discussing what's happened over the last week. Sarah tells Sinclair that he's coming here, his favorite part of the week, for Steve. Sinclair looks at the scarf Sarah is wearing and tells her to move it. Sarah then reveals a scar from when Steve's drunk dad was beating her. We jump to modern day where Steve Rogers takes off his shirt and paints the Hydra logo on his chest with his fingers before starting communication with the Red Skull. Red Skull demands to know what happened in Begalia, the city where he fought Zemo, and Steve tells him. Steve said that he knocked out Zemo and left Dr. Selvig in the plane for it to crash into a building and kill Selvig. Red Skull praises the fact that Zemo is dead, and when Steve asks whether it was necessary to kill the Doctor, he could have helped find Kobik, but the Red Skull says no. Kobik will come to me if she still exists. Red Skull says the mission was a success, but then Steve tells him about Jack. We then cut to Kathy, Free Spirit, mourning the knocked out and potentially dying body of Jack. She screams telling Sharon to hurry, but there's a problem. Begalia is a city full of criminals. If a S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier lands, it's probably not coming back up. The S.H.I.E.L.D. ship lands anyway and takes Jack before the fighting could begin. Just as they begin to escape, there's an explosion, and out comes Taskmaster. Taskmaster stabs Sharon in the hand and aims a gun at her. But then Steve pops up, saving her life and knocking Taskmaster away. Steve then fights Taskmaster and knocks him out with a few fatal blows with the shield. Steve tells Sharon they should leave before, "Attention, citizens of Begalia. We have been invaded by S.H.I.E.L.D. In response, we hereby formally declare a state of martial law." Before that, Sharon, Kathy, and Steve all begin fighting as limitless amounts of bad guys begin to come from everywhere. Sharon tells Rick Jones and the two S.H.I.E.L.D. agents inside to think of a solution. Rick thinks of one and announces, "Dear citizens of Begalia, I have hacked all casinos, and if any of you have a tip there, I am going to empty your accounts in the next 3 minutes. So you better run and save all your money. Or you could just kill Captain America and lose everything." Sharon screams, "This is stupid," but then she sees every villain they were fighting run off to try to save their money. Steve Rogers then goes to comfort Kathy, saying that she tried to save him, but then the doctors yell that they've got a pulse with Jack. We then move back to the Red Skull and Steve, and the Red Skull screams at Steve and tells him he's careless. Steve promises it won't happen again, and the Red Skull says it better not. Not when they are so close to victory. Everyone is falling into their traps, whether it be Sharon getting power hungry, Rick knowing too much, or people turning on Maria. Everything is working, and Jack Flag must die. Steve Rogers moves into the room after the conversation, and we see Dr. Selvig is still alive. The next issue was a Civil War II time, but we're going to skim through and give you the important Steve Rogers parts. The other two Steve Rogers Civil War II tie-ins are vital to the Civil War II storyline, so that'll be included in our Civil War II video. We see Sarah packing, and then Steve says that Miss Sinclair promised him a gift. Do they have to leave right now? Sarah screams that they can never go back to Hydra, and then there's a knock on the door. Sarah tells Steve to hide, and then she opens the door. Sinclair walks in and asks Sarah why she missed the meeting today, and Sarah just says she was busy. Sinclair stares at the bag. We then cut to present day where Steve tells Dr. Selvig that he needs him. He needs a doctor to help him achieve the goal. Selvig doesn't understand why he's still alive. Steve tells him the supreme leader of the Red Skull thought he was worthless. Steve disagrees though, and believes Selvig will help him restore glory to Hydra. Steve then tells the doctor that getting the lab wasn't easy. He had to fight off multiple apes to get it. He tells Selvig a lot is already here, and it's enough to keep their enemy at bay. Selvig asks if the enemy is S.H.I.E.L.D., but Roger says no. They won't be a problem. They're destroying themselves with the whole Maria Hill thing in Civil War II. Civil War II is also another reason the superhero aren't our enemies. They're too busy fighting each other. Rick Jones and Kathy are waiting for more news on Jack. We then go back to Steve, and he tells Selvig that the main reason he needed him was to find Kobik. The girl is vital to everything. Selvig says they need to know where she is, but Steve says he knows where she is. She's with Bucky and the rest of the Thunderbolts doing missions with them. Steve tells Selvig that he will get his hands on Kobik and convince a training Kassar to work with them. He also says that they aren't the only ones looking for Kobik. Who else is? Wait for Civil War II tomorrow. But Steve needs to know what he is building up. But Steve needs to do what he's been building up to his whole life. We then see Sarah and Sinclair are having an argument as to whether Sinclair killed Sarah's husband or not. And then Sinclair says they need to take her and the boy to Hydra. Sarah lunges at Sinclair, but then the guards snap Sarah's neck and kill her. Sinclair screams at the guards and tells them to find the boy. Sinclair tells them not to hurt him. She has such great plans for him. Steve tells Selvig that there is a sickness infecting Hydra, and that is their enemy. They must purify it before the rise of Hydra. And that is why Steve wants to kill the Red Skull. Okay guys, so this was an amazing arc. I'm really loving what they're doing with Steve Rogers right now. This whole Hail Hydra storyline has been great. The next 2 issues are important in the Civil War II story, and then we move into the trials of Maria Hill. That's it for now, and see ya!